Please welcome George Takei.
Hello, everybody. I'm honored to be here with all of you today in San Francisco. The human element. What makes us us? For 200,000 years, roughly the amount of time humankind has existed, we've been walking on 2 feet, exploring, living with others, sometimes avoiding others. Before long, our brains grew huge, 86 billion neurons huge and counting. Aristotle told us that we're rational animals seeking knowledge. Confucius added that humans are benevolent. Oh my. I hope that's true. I hope we're designed to help one another. Psychologists say that when we grow up in a group or family, we seek to be like one another, but we also seek to be different. So, if you're good at math, your siblings will either join your pursuit or excel at something else. If you yearn to be something that doesn't quite suit your group dynamic, or if you feel alone, you might seek out others to form a new community where you can be exactly who you long to be. How beautiful is that? Every mind in this room works in its own unique way. Like fingerprints, no two brains are the same. Each thought is informed by your genetic disposition and your environment, life experiences, race, gender, age, beliefs, brain chemistry. This exquisite diversity enables us to handle problems that might perplex us if we face them alone. This reminds me of a beloved acronym first uttered over 50 years ago on Star Trek, the original series. IDIC. IDIC stands for Infinite Diversity in Infinite Combinations. You innately think differently. The very human and unprogrammable future empowers you to help defend our world. Some of you are hunters. You seek out facts. Others are gatherers, collecting and sharing intelligence with others. A number of you are builders, making companies and inventing solutions. There are also fixers among you who repair systems and restore data. And there are those who think differently, outliers and dreamers among you. Together, you protect our world against destructive attacks. You defend us from any threat imaginable. In your industry, homogeneity equals disaster. But unity of purpose among very different people, that's another story. No matter what differentiates you, you are united by a common purpose, preventing, detecting, and responding to threats. I ask each of you to think about your personal human element. Are you an idealist or an altruist? A mentor or a student? A rebel or a collaborator? We must honor our diverse traits for our species to stay alive. If we are benevolent about our differences, we can boldly go where no one has gone before. As you leave the keynote today, I invite you to explore our human element installation outside in the lobby and upstairs in the engagement zone. There, you may choose a human element button that identifies you to the RSA conference community. Wear it proudly, as I am. Open your mind to the people you meet in the coming days. Embrace your similarities. Celebrate your differences and revel in the possibility that everyone you encounter, so different yet so aligned, might possess the very element you need to change our world. Thank you for being extraordinary humans. Live long and prosper.
Think you're special? One of a kind? We agree. The way you pursue your digital ambitions is unique to you. And so is your appetite for digital risk. Whether you're hyperconnecting your ecosystem, empowering a distributed workforce, rapidly leveraging cloud, IoT, AI, or other new technologies, RSA is here to help you manage digital risk your way at every stage of your journey. So go ahead. Be you.
Hello and welcome to the first day of RSA Conference 2020 Asia Pacific and Japan. Thank you for joining us. There are 3 tracks of great content available to you today, as well as interactive experiences, a Capture the Flag tournament, and insights from our partners in the Resource Center. If you have any audio or video issues, please check the technical support button below. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Rohit Ghai, President of RSA, for today's keynote presentation. Thank you.
Linda, thank you, and welcome everyone. Let's do this virtually. It's a great pleasure to be with all of you. I ask with a question: what is it that makes us human? Is it our opposable thumbs, the size of our brains, the fact that we can pass the Turing test, or something entirely else? We are biologically hardwired for stories. In fact, since the dawn of time, we have gathered around fires and told stories. Opposable thumbs let us hang on. It is our stories that tell us what to hang on to. Stories make us human. Stories have a profound impact on the way we think, feel, and act. They move us to be better. Today, nurses and doctors are writing new stories of heroism on the front lines of the global pandemic. They remind us of the meaning of courage and sacrifice. We also see new heroes calling out and taking on social injustice. Their example challenges us all to be ever better. These stories we tell change the world. In fact, in 1977, 3 brilliant minds told a story about Alice and Bob, 2 characters who had a need to have a secret conversation. By humanizing this narrative, Ron Rivest, Adi Shamir, and Leonard Edelman ignited the imagination of cryptographers everywhere. This particular story created an iconic company, an industry, and a conference. And since our theme this year is the human element, what better way than to discuss this and review the story of cybersecurity, paying particular attention to the human characters in our story. I am honored to welcome the good humans in the story of cybersecurity to RSA Conference 2020. Now, a story has a backdrop, a narrator, actors, and observers. 2,000 years ago, Aristotle identified the elements of a great story: pity, fear, and catharsis. The narrator depicts a struggle in which the observer feels pity and gets emotionally entangled with the one struggling. The jeopardy escalates, instilling fear in the heart of the observer. The resolution drives catharsis, delivering dopamine into the observer's brain and landing the story in their head. One of the key storytellers of our time, Yuval Noah Harari, says a story's impact is correlated with the number of heads it lives inside and not how real it is. So in order to change our future, we must change and spread our story. And there are 3 steps to doing that. First, we must understand the story we have. Step 2, we need to contrast that with our reality today. And step 3, we should agree to the story we want and land it in lots of heads. So let's get into exactly that. The first draft of our story was very simple. The backdrop was deep in the bowels of the data center. Attacker versus defender, technologist versus technologist, protecting technology infrastructure. Now, we didn't have a lot of observers at this point, and it was us, the defender, narrating the story. Now, that's the story we had. In truth, it was never that simple. And we could debate what our founding myth should have been. Regardless, it's definitely not our story today. The story we have is one where we protect a pervasive technology infrastructure. It's no longer just a data center. It's core, cloud, and the edge. And in a world powered by data, we find ourselves responsible for the security and privacy of that data. We don't just protect technology and data, but the humans that use these assets and, in fact, their trust in them. The most important asset we protect is trust. That is why the human element of cybersecurity is so important. The users are now important characters in our story, and we often label them as the first line of defense. We have come to believe that their awareness, education, and level of vigilance is vital for cybersecurity. Now, most great narratives have a plot twist, a sudden, unforeseen shift that confounds our assumptions, disrupts our patterns, and compels us to change. Our story is no different. The COVID-19 pandemic has fundamentally shaken every aspect of how we live, work, and play. Our sector has working theories of how to manage core, edge, and cloud computing. We understood the clear and distinct roles that security had in supporting business functions. We knew where our vulnerabilities were and how to protect them. Or so we thought. The coronavirus has toppled all our assumptions. Business once assumed that work was a place that protected the crown jewels, data. And as long as IT kept the walls high enough, then we could protect what matters most. Today, we've realized that work is not a location, it's an activity. And in fact, data isn't the crown jewel locked up in the tallest towers. It is everywhere, in people's homes, accessed via personal devices, transmitted via family Wi-Fi. So next time you contact your bank, remember that whoever you're speaking with is accessing your financials from their living room. And there just might be a Zoom birthday party taking place back in their kitchen. Now, plot twists also expose villains. We always knew that ransomware was a threat, but the plot twist of COVID-19 has expanded this new attack. As organizations have scrambled to move their people and assets to home networks, hackers, in fact, have adapted and moved just as quickly to exploit the confusion, targeting remote workforce infrastructure and hastily established authentication mechanisms. In fact, this region, the APJ region, has been hit especially hard. In the first quarter of 2020, APJ encountered nearly 60% of the reported ransomware attacks. A PricewaterhouseCoopers report noted that cyber attacks on Indian organizations doubled from January to March. So this twist in the plot has taught us many new things. First, it's clear to us today that global problems require global, universal effort. Cybersecurity is a global problem. In fact, I've called it a weak link sport. We cannot win unless everyone contributes. Second, success in our industry is not the eradication of the threat or the virus. It is about making sure life can go on despite the threat. It is about bending the curve so business impact does not overwhelm us. And third, success is not a point-in-time event. The threats will wax and wane. There may be resurgences. There will certainly be different future threats that we will need to deal with. Success is a process and a mindset. It's not an event. So based on these learnings and a new reality, emboldened adversaries, security teams have been pushed to the brink. We weren't prepared for the story that we now have. Well, the only good news is that by shaking us, by making us uncomfortable, by forcing us to act, these plot twists also reveal heroes. They allow the human element to shine, demonstrating our depth, resilience, and ingenuity. Cybersecurity personnel immediately adapted to this new challenge, standing up remote workforces and creating digital platforms needed to manage risk. In fact, we helped a pediatric healthcare provider work across state lines and extend healthcare to those that need it. In Qatar, an IT team mapped out new vulnerabilities, protecting patients and helping to keep 18,000 beds in use when they were needed most. In Singapore, government officials began working from home practically overnight. In the US, NASA found a way for its personnel to aim for the stars even as they worked from home. The Mars rover program kept on going. Look, challenges compel us to reimagine the story we have and instead write the story that we want. As we rewrite our story, we have to think about participating in incident response exercises suited to the moment. For the foreseeable future, we cannot count on war rooms filled with focused analysts. Instead, we'll need to rely on distributed teams who are balancing home and work lives simultaneously. Leadership must account for the human element, run tabletop exercises to reveal how virtual SOCs perform. By participating in these exercises, CEOs cultivate empathetic leadership and can address leadership, governance, and people issues before they become organizational vulnerabilities. Now, as we rewrite that story, let's also expand our cast of characters and rethink our culture. Face it, our sector has been elitist and exclusive. It is no surprise that we have struggled to find talent. We've driven it away or discounted it altogether. Now, that's true everywhere, but it's particularly troubling for APJ. In 2018, Korn Ferry estimated that by 2030, Asia Pacific would see a labor skills shortage of 47 million employees, representing an unrealized output of more than $4.2 trillion. That's the largest percentage of the economy affected by the IT talent crunch anywhere on Earth. We cannot, ladies and gents, continue being STEM snobs. Cloud computing and cybersecurity roles are being left unfilled, particularly in Asia Pacific. We have been too narrow-minded about our team's geography. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that it doesn't matter where someone sits as long as they can get the job done. It's easier than ever to source talent from anywhere. So why aren't we? Another untapped resource is neurodiversity, which is simply being wired or coded differently. The neurodiverse can bring new perspectives and solve problems differently. They remain a largely untapped talent pool, with unemployment running as high as 80%. To be clear, our homogeneity is a global issue, and in the last few weeks, protesters around the world have marched against overt acts of racism and structural inequities. Our sector cannot be complicit in perpetuating social injustice and lack of inclusiveness. We all must do more to learn from our Black and underrepresented colleagues, provide them with a platform they need to thrive, and build teams that will reflect the diversity of our communities. Writing a story also allows us to reconsider the broader arc, our destination and motivation. We are still coping with COVID-19, but a post-coronavirus world is coming. We should prepare for it now. Doing so is in our DNA. Using our past to anticipate the future is one of the things that sets us apart, that makes us human. So if work is no longer a place, if data is no longer a hidden gem, then let's use this disruption to fundamentally rethink what we do and why we do this work. In the story we want, our sector restores and preserves trust in digital technologies by successfully managing digital and cyber risk. The story we want is not a fairy tale without intrusions and breaches. Instead, it's a world in which the impact of those breaches doesn't impede human progress. In the story we want, business stakeholders, the board, and the risk office are actively engaged from the start. Their perspectives and insights provide the strategy and context that helps security operations teams prioritize and focus on the risks that matter most. And in the story we want, IT and software makers are raised from being bit players to leading active roles. They not our end users act as the first line of defense. Moreover, their roles, agency, and oversight grows as edge computing and the world of DevOps continue to expand tech's footprint and rapidly develop new updates. Because the next disruption will come, whether it's another pandemic, a natural disaster, changing climate, or something else, we must apply the insights we've learned over the last few months to maintain business continuity, adapt our supply and distribution chains, and build resiliency. Cybersecurity is a problem of resiliency. Now, if you've learned anything from the sudden work from home orders, the surge in disrupted workforces, and the accelerated digital transformation of every sector on earth, is that cybersecurity is a resilience and business risk problem. Every protagonist faces crises like these. And it's precisely this is what makes them heroes. Because it's only by acknowledging the stakes, finding new depths, and battling against obstruction that we can change our story and create the world we want. So from artificial intelligence to the advent of quantum computing, to global pandemics, the story of 2020 might look like science fiction, but our story will intrinsically be one about humans, about our struggle to adapt to new challenges, and our triumph overcoming them together. To paraphrase Haruki Murakami, when you come out of the storm, you will not be the same person who walked in. And that's what the storm is all about. We must turn to each other for advice, for clarity, for inspiration. And that's why this conference was created, to foster connections that strengthen our ability to tackle complex challenges. So whatever fire it is that you gather around, and whichever way it is that you tell our story, make sure it's the right one. Because when the fire is long gone, and so are we, it is our story that will live on, and it'll guide those after us on the right path. It will tell them what to hang on to. We are only as great as the story we leave behind. Thank you.